return of the hard tag. For a couple of years it had been openly pondered why a team's not doing it with Nick Daicos, and now that they are, the question is, has it gone too far? Is it a bad look? Is it something that needs to be policed harder on the day by the umpires? And what's the AFL's view of it? When does it go too far, and when is it fair game to curb one of the most dynamic and explosive players in the game? So we thought this is a special project for Ray Chamberlain, who had his experiences back in the day with noted taggers. So let's get into a bit of Razor's edge with a pointed feel. Razor, welcome back.
Jerry.
Hey.
Gary, how are you?
Good, mate.
Who was the tagger who had you on high alert?
My day, it was Lingy, and Lingy loved it. No, he didn't. We had very clear instruction, Jared, back in the day. I remember it came from the top down, from Andrew Demetrio through to Rowan Saws via Jeff Geeshan and directly to us. And it was like, they don't come here to watch a bloke wrestle a guy. If he turns his back, pay a free kick. If he grabs him on the hip, pay a free kick. If he grabs him on the wrist, pay a free kick. Get him going for the ball and we'll back you. And it was unambiguous, it was very clear, and it was supported. And so you just set the tone out of the gate, and then the player had to adjust, and they do.
Do you think that? Yeah, well, let's get into it.
All right, so what's the rule?
So essentially the guts around blocking, holding, etc. at stoppage and with taggers is that the player whose sole objective is to contest the football shall be permitted to do so. So what we're looking for is who's trying to go for the ball and whose sole intention is to do everything other than that, and that's your delineation.
So we asked you to watch the start of the King's birthday clash and the Langdon tag on Daicos, which actually changed as the game went. What caught your eye straight away?
Well, essentially, once I had a centre bounce, Langdon would roll up and then just wouldn't let go of Daicos as he transitioned going back and forth for the footy and at contest. And so, you know, our umpires on the day, obviously Langdon wasn't at centre bounce, and so they weren't adjusting to pick up and see him hand over and then what was happening after that. So all of these examples here where you've got arms wrapped around, arms on hips corralling, they're all examples of warranted free kick. There's a classic example. Like, he's got no intention to try and go for the ball. He hasn't got the ball and he's got arms around his waist. So they're all examples of where a warranted free kick could be paid to Nick Daicos in this instance.
So why weren't they?
Well, because they just weren't aware of it, Gary.
Did they get made aware of it?
Absolutely, and I think we sort of, you know, earlier in the program I noticed we saw some vision from GWS. And there was some instruction before the game, and then there was some affirmation of what needs to happen at three-quarter time for the last 30 minutes. And the coaches on the day would have identified this at quarter time, and dialogue would have been had. And then the next chance that they get to speak to them is at half-time, and there would have been some footage shown, I'm sure.
So we clearly saw the change calling the game and spoke to both coaches that night about it. When you watch the tape now, can you see the change? So all of those might have been free kicks in the first quarter and weren't, and then it changes in the second half.
Yeah, and in the second half, the umpires are aware of it, so the non-controlling umpires are hyper-aware, so you're not worrying about the ruck, you're looking around, so the first thing you're going to do is look for the bloke with the long sleeves and then identify and train in on that. And there was a clear example of a hold on the arm that's paid as a free kick here. That's coming straight out of the half-time gate. So to the umpires' credit, they adjusted to their instruction and they were handling this circumstance far more appropriately. And I thought their second half in that space was great.
So was Ed Langdon turned around and go, hey, I haven't changed. I'm not doing anything different. I did this in the first half and you weren't pinging me. So how's he supposed to deal with it?
Well, he will, because then they'll communicate and they'll deal with it, Gary. I mean, ideally we get it out of the gate, don't we, right from the get-go. But just because you make one error in the first minute, you don't keep making it for 2 hours, mate. OK, but they did, mate, for the first hour, didn't they? Yeah. Yeah. So that's a failing, isn't it? On their behalf in the first... It's a big fail. There's 4 of them. He's the most visible footballer on the ground and they let it go for an hour. They did, and what's really important to note is that I agree with you and I wasn't out there. So is it the unambiguous nature of the feedback that you got as a coach, is that being received to these umpires at the moment? The immediate thing that I ask is why? So why aren't we aware of that? Is it preparation? Who's responsible for that? The individuals are responsible for their preparation and being aware. Our match day coach is aware. And then is the assessment and the message, are they congruent with what's happening on the ground? Or is it a bit wishy-washy and we're trying to please everyone? That's the question I'd have. So on Saturday night they were on alert right from the outset. They were. And, you know, so again, you come into the next week, there's a lot of noise. Again, it's pretty clear. Winhaggar's had a great... this has been his role all year, hasn't it? Whether it be going back on Cozzy, whether it be rolling around with Max Holmes. Is that a free kick? So this instance here...
It serves the purpose well, but is it actually a free kick?
So the threshold around force is really interesting. So, Jared, regardless of force, if it's a closed hand, it's a free kick. In this instance here, you need to be satisfied that it's a forceful strike with an open hand to warrant a free kick. But the ball's not in play there. So from an umpiring perspective, you can easily say to Marcus, keep your hands to yourself. So I think that's fine to pay that free kick. And, you know, watching the game and seeing it unfold, I was there live. I went, yep, tick, no drama.
The kneeing in the hamstring?
So, you know, I want to put on the table, I'm a Winhaggar fan. I love how he plays. He's a ripping fellow. I don't think he's a dirty player at all. And I think what happens here is this is just a person trying to get under Nick's skin. I don't think there's anything inappropriate necessarily or over the line there. However, when we let things go, and I say we, when umpiring on field allows behaviours to roll along and there's no action taken, players then are forced to take action into their own hands. And it's not just Nick, it's then all of his teammates, all of Winhaggar's teammates then come. So now you've got this rolling issue when you could have just nipped it into the butt out of the gate.
So did we expect that to have been seen?
Potentially, yes. Yes, because, mate, again, I shouldn't... You get cranky when I call you that. The non-controlling umpires, you got one place to look in this circumstance, don't you? That's your hot spot. Someone's got to be watching that. Someone's got to have verbal control and someone's got to pay a free kick.
First quarter to second quarter, the bit of the holding at stoppage, this struck me as one that was missed and then the correction that was made.
The challenge here around this one here, so you'll see Winhaggar's back's to the ball and he's preventing Nick from getting to the ball. So that's a block. So we go back to the spirit of the law. Sole objective is to contest the football, shall be permitted to do so. He's not being permitted to get to the ball and Winhaggar's got no eyes on the ball or desire to contest the ball. That's a free kick.
Wasn't paid, but then in the second quarter, the correction is made.
Yeah, and I suspect potentially there would have been some communication from the coaches because, yep, we've picked up the hold, yep, we picked up the forceful strike to the midriff, yep, we've picked up a push in the back, but let's be aware of this stuff that's hanging off stoppage. And so you can see how umpires position themselves perfectly. He's looking exactly where we need him to look, and he pays a warranted free kick.
And then the interaction at stoppage, which is not a free kick. So these are the borderline ones here. Is that or isn't it? So these two examples, you think Winhaggar is OK?
So there's a slight hand on the hip there. Does he actually hold him? From that camera angle, I can't say that he does. I think that's play on. And this second one, you'll watch Winhaggar here. He's got his back to the play, right? So we're going, OK, I'm going to play a free kick for a block. But we need Nick to get on the move there. They don't have to look at the ball. That's not a free kick. And Nick's obviously a bit tired there. He's probably just been in a scrap. So he wasn't moving. If he gets on the move there, that's a much easier one for an umpire to pay a warranted free kick.
Righto, let's go to the deliberate.
Now infamous.
Infamous
insufficient intent.
So we've spoken to our coach. Right. Tell us, was this or was this not?
So I think, from the chairman of the commission through to the youngest, newest fan in Western Sydney, we have been conditioned to understand, whether we like it or not, that this is insufficient intent. Off the axis, ball skews away, doesn't matter whether it turns right or not.
Yeah, so you say off the axis, and if we get a behind the goals footage, I would say to you that this falls in the margins. I absolutely understand what you're saying here. So Stringer's got to kick the ball straight. He doesn't have to kick it back towards the centre of the goals. What he can't do is kick the ball in the direction of the boundary line. Once it pitches and does a dirty wrong'un, the umpire's not considering that. If you look at the umpire, this umpire here, Nathan Williamson, he runs under the flight of the ball and then also turns back to reference Stringer. He's trying to see, was that straight down the line or did it go in a direction closer to the boundary line? And he's determined, he's made a judgment call without a protractor that it's gone straight, and so that's why he's awarded a boundary throw-in. And that's an anomaly because it's going inside 50. Because, Jared, if it doesn't go through for a score and it goes far enough, it will go out of bounds.
Yes, yeah. So Cadman knows it's a free kick. He's going to set up. Collins knows it's a free kick. He's gone to collect the ball because this is what we've all been conditioned across the course of the year to understand, except this one's not a free kick. The
only point I'll make is he assumes. He doesn't know because the umpire's the one who's got to pay it or not, Jared, and he's adhered to the instructions that he's been given.
Is this insufficient intent or not?
No, not by the umpire's instructions.
Yeah, so the other 122 are wrong.
I'll leave you with that.